Okay, so no. Before we get any further in, this is not my big Breaking Bad project I've been working on for the last few months. And no, this will not be replacing that. That is still very much coming. This video idea has been nagging at me for the last couple of weeks because for the big video, I'm rewatching the show again and something occurred to me. When you search up the most hated characters in television, you find some Game of Thrones characters on there, you might find some Walking Dead characters on there, you might even find some Sopranos characters on there. But without a doubt, there's one character you'll find on all of these lists, and that is who we are here to talk about today. Skyler White. And more specifically, why is she so hated by fans? Because I remember when I first watched the show, like many, I could not stand Skyler's character. But on my rewatch for my future video, I realized, hey, wait a minute, why did I dislike Skyler so much? In a show where pretty much everyone's a criminal, hell even Marie has a stealing arc, why was Skyler the most hated? Yes, she fell into the life of crime too, and definitely benefited from the spoils, but she wasn't anywhere close to being a terrible person, especially when our main character is Walter White, one of the most despicable characters in all of television. Now don't get me wrong, Walter White is my favorite character in TV history. His downward spiral was done so well, and his character is so wildly complex and well written that a lot of newer TV protagonists kind of pale in comparison to what Vince Gilligan was able to create. But think about it, when you have a character as horrible as Walter White, who ruined his family for his own personal greed and ego, poisoned a child, let a woman die in front of him, and due to that, indirectly caused the deaths of hundreds of people. When you have a character like that, and the only person people hate more than Skyler is Todd and Jack's gang, you have to question what's really going on. Now, after some thinking, there are a few reasons as to why I think people dislike Skyler as much as they do. Reason one is because Walter is the main character. Yes, Walter White is a bad guy, but Breaking Bad revolves around him. He is the star of the show, and despite being a criminal mastermind, he is our protagonist. And Skyler, despite being his wife, does play a role as a thorn in his side for a large portion of the series, whether that be kicking him out of the house, having an affair, aiding his illegal activities, or even physically attacking him. And because of how invested we as watchers are in the character of Walter White, to a certain extent, we root for him. It's the character we see in almost every single scene, so we get to see his ups and downs much more in depth than anyone besides maybe Jesse. This connection to the character of Walter White can make the right choice the frustrating choice to watch. Take for example the car Walter buys for Walt Jr. It's a very nice gift for his son, and we get to see the joy that a father and son experience with a car. And then Skyler tells Walter to send it back. And while this is the right choice, it's the choice that messes with Walt, who the audience have gone through this whole journey with. So it comes across as Skyler being bitchy, when this is genuinely the logical and rational response to this situation. How can they explain this to the money people? And despite the situation with Ted being much more complicated than people tend to give it credit for, since she and Walt weren't technically divorced yet and don't actually end up going through with the divorce, the Ted situation does look pretty bad in hindsight. There are so many examples of Skyler being a hypocrite and lying and manipulating and not being a great person, but I highly doubt that those are the primary reasons so many people hate her character. Because if it was, characters like Walt, Saul, Mike, and Jesse would be much less liked than they are. I've been skating around one word in particular until now because I believe this one word encapsulates at least 80% of the hatred for Skyler White. She's annoying. Skyler was, by nature, an annoying character, and we get to see this very early on, with how she treats Walt at the intervention, how she loses her mind when she believes Walt is smoking weed, despite a decent amount of chemotherapy patients saying that weed helps, or at least gives them a placebo effect that it helps. We see her kind of strong-arm Walt into taking chemo when he tells her he doesn't want to, and then the whole thing with Gretchen and Elliot's handout, and telling everyone under the sun about his cancer diagnosis that he wanted to keep private. These early interactions with this character really do give us the impression that she's just this overbearing, controlling wife who even on her husband's birthday barely looks at Walt while she does the thing, as well as the happy birthday scene with Ted. She's just really kind of irritating, and we don't get enough time with her doing her own thing build a relationship with her beyond being Walt's wife. We barely get any background on her at all, but it's much harder to empathize and care about her problems and her feelings, the way we do with Walt. I think to sum it up, Skyler being an overbearing, irritating, controlling character who directly negatively impacts the character we're most invested in is the easiest explanation as to why the vast majority of the fanbase finds her unbearable. However, it does perplex the hell out of me is why so many people direct that hate towards Gunn. It's because of how great she did in the role that so many people dislike the character. I feel like it takes a really talented performer to elicit such a strong reaction from the audience. Take Michael Bell for example. Now I did hear Vince Gilligan was actually surprised by the amount of people that disliked Skyler White as much as they did. To a certain extent, he definitely wrote the character to act in an unappealing way the majority of the time. So in the end, I feel like I've done my best to break down the main reasons people don't like the character of Skyler White, and I hope you enjoyed the first dip into the Breaking Bad pond. And for those of you who don't know, as I mentioned previously, I have a huge Breaking Bad video coming out, and I can't wait to put it out. So thank you guys for watching, like and subscribe if you'd like, comment if you're feeling extra generous, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.